is my face, just because I don't want people seeing my whole what's the word for it? My whole desktop. But
No
I'm just
worries.
going to. Yeah, it should just log me in. There we go. Okay. Perfect. There we go. So let's go to monitor stream. And wait, let me actually just share this with you. Share my screen. Here. There it is. Okay. Quality is going to be very low, but it'll give you an idea of where we are. That's my goal with that. So I'm going to try and switch between. So with this, you get a document that just kind of comes with your session because you got the premium one. So as we go, I'm going to be writing stuff down and such.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. So, if it goes kind of fast or something like that, don't worry, you're going to get everything back. But let me just do this. Sorry, there's... I think I'm ready, and I'm really not every time.
No worries.
Okay, there we go. All right, so I am going to switch to monitor stream, and we are going to watch your set. Okay.
Has the tournament went to his name?
So, can you see it, by the way?
I think it's still loading up.
Interesting. For me, it's playing. Let me just see.
No, I can hear it too. But the screen is still loading up.
Can you see it?
No, it's still buffering in.
Interesting.
Let me try out of it and then click back in.
I'll turn it off and turn it back on.
Oh wait, I think I saw it actually. Wait, try bringing it back.
I'm gonna do it again. See if this works. Can you see it?
I can see it now.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Perfect. Okay. There we go. Okay. Oh, yo, this is Jeremiah. I played this guy like a year ago on Elite Smash. It's really funny.
Really?
Yeah. I think you're in my area. Like I'm in the lower end of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're just kind of like in the same sort of area. But anyway, I'm seeing a lot of good stuff from you so far. I'm gonna just watch this stock and see how things go.
Yeah, I guess for some context, we played once before.
Okay.
It got pretty ugly. I mean, he won, but
yeah, I got you. I know this person is a very good Snake player, so no shame in that. But let's definitely see what happens so we can talk about it. Wait, there we go. Okay. Good. Ooh. Interesting. Oh, that's good. Okay. Okay. Hold on. There we go.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate. Okay. So, the first thing that happens is you kind of dash back to the corner, right? And that puts you in a weaker spot. It kind of loses you neutral. So with Snake is kind of an interesting zoner because that's really not helpful for the screen. But like Snake is a pretty interesting zoner because he what's the word? He gets a lot out of scrapping and trading, but he also can keep you away from it, right? So his effective range is very large, but when you're, for example, in Diddy Nair range or like Diddy Fair, like when you can do an aerial, he still has things like Grenade to keep you out, right? that's a pretty common thing in this game, which is really rough to deal with. Zoners with really good boxing tools, right? So, what I mean by a boxing tool is a tool that you would use in like extremely close quarters. For example, like I consider close quarters in this game to be like if a falcon can jab you, like that type of range, right? So in that range, a lot of zoners, right? Pac-Man, Snake, right? Rob, like they just have really fast buttons that they can use to like scrap with you, right? So keeping that in mind, going to the corner puts you in Snake's effective range in terms of long range. And immediately, Jeremiah recognizes this and just takes the other end of the stage and just starts throwing, right? Because he realizes, oh, this person's going to stay over there. I'll take the other side and I'll win that trade immediately, right? Because Snake can like really dominate if he's at the longer range, right? The place where these characters struggle is outside of their boxing range, but inside of their effective long range, right? So, for example, I want to see if there's a spot where it happens, where you just happen to be in that range. It actually happened just there. So, when you're in this range, hold on, I gotta time it perfectly, because you didn't mean to be here. But when you're like here, this is very scary for Snake.
Oh, I could have punished that, couldn't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So this about this range, it's actually if you were a little bit closer, if you were on this line, but basically you want to be inside anything like Nikita, right? For example, if you stand here, if Snake does a grenade toss, you can punish him for it, or you can at least pressure him for it. If he does a Nikita, he gets punished for it, right? If he does anything sort of long range, I think even if he drops C4, you get pressure off that, right? So any sort of long range sort of setup option he could go for, you can punish. But if he opts or thinks that, oh, he's going to try and punish me for a long range option, I'm going to dash back, take space, or I'm going to dash forward, right? You don't actually have to do that. You can actually go aggro on him and try and pressure him and force him to box, or you can dash back. And if he expects something else to happen, he might come into you and you can get a whiff punish, right? For example, you could get into this range, dash out of that range, and he might dash attack, right? And you'll bait that out. So essentially, when you're in this range, you force Snake to guess between a long range option, a coverage option, or a burst option, right? And both of them are punishable if you pick the right one, if you pick the right option.
I think that definitely helps. Because I think one thing I was trying to do before, I never really had like a solid game plan going in. It was more to just like try to avoid whatever you can, and then if an opening presents itself, just try and make the most of it. But
yeah,
I think it's just I think I have to kind of stay within that burst so I can do something.
It's very tough.
I was talking about it with a few other guys too, and they were saying like I was staying long range this first game, and like you'll see as it goes on, but like I take a lot of shit damage from grenades.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the thing. The thing about Snake is that he's heavy, so he can kind of make comebacks, but like if you can get a lead versus Snake, it becomes a lot more difficult for him than the average zoner, right? Because for him, a lot of his chip damage, if you're rushing him down, he has to trade, right? And because he's heavy, he can survive for longer than most characters, right? But if you do get a stock lead or even a percent lead, you can force trades on him if you go in on him. The only thing you have to be careful of is like getting anti-air with up tilt or something at high percents. So I'm gonna write all this down because this is all important. So session 1. So on PS2, Battlefield and FD, there is a circle in the middle of the stage. On PS2, it's a Pokeball. So here, see this?
Yeah.
This is what's known as burst range. For Diddy, if you're in this burst range, right? For example, if Snake is here and you're here, it is extremely unsafe for Snake to do a long range sort of Nikita or any option like that. It's also unsafe for him to try and do a burst option, right? So if you can keep yourself at this position, you can threaten an aggressive option like banana toss or nair or something like that, or even side B. Right, side B is actually perfect for this. Side B is perfect for this. Banana toss just reaches here. If you jump here, you can nair a shield very well. It's like this is almost designed to be burst range, right? So from there, you also have dashing back and retreating to punish him trying to come to you. Because if you retreat, you can get a whiff punish on a dash attack. If he runs in, it's very difficult for Snake to approach, right? All of his stuff is more punishable than usual. If he hits your shield with something, you have up smash, that sort of thing. So let me just get this all down. So that represents burst range. By staying in burst range against zoning, you can punish long range coverage options, and I'm just going to put parentheses Snake Nikita, grenade, toss, or bait out aggressive approaches through pressure. And I want to talk about this because this is important. Snake, dash, attack, run in, aerials, etc. So like whatever Snake approaches with, not really very much. So with that, what I want to make clear is that when you're in this range, Snake is uncomfortable. And he actually is uncomfortable in this game. I'll show you. You get into this range by accident, and he buffers shield.
I didn't even see that, yeah.
Yeah. You see what I mean? Like, he starts up his game plan, and, like, this could be because he wants to, drop grenade, shield. Like, that's a pretty common Snake thing, but it seems like he's on the defensive, right? And this is just the burst range. It happens here again, I think. And he's immediately... I want to see what he does about the Nikita thing. What does he do about that? Yeah, he jumps, right? Like, that's a situation that Snakes want to avoid at all costs, right? So there, if you're in this burst range, you'll find that people jump, you'll find that people shield, you'll find that people who kind of like are more on the mashy side, they'll go for dash attacks, right? Like, a lot of times just being in that space will elicit an option from Snake. And it's almost always a punishable one. And the beauty of it is that if it's not directly punishable, then you gain stage, right? For example, you might not be able to punish a dash back or jump away, but you can still take the space that they give up. And against Snake, that's like almost as good. So by staying in burst range, zoning characters like Snake will be uncomfortable and will pick punishable options, like jump. Against weaker players, I don't think I wouldn't say this is going to be common at all at higher levels of play, but like you have jump, you have maybe a roll. I'll put in parentheses maybe, because I don't see that happening very often, but maybe roll. Maybe roll. Dash attack. And then slash other burst option. Right? And burst option is going to be unreactable, but if you expect a burst option, it's going to usually be punishable on block. Right? The only way that doesn't happen is if he crosses up, but if you see that happening, you can rising back air at a shield or something like that. Jump, roll, burst option, or potentially retreating. You can either hit these options directly or use them to gain stage, which is very powerful against zoners. Okay. So I do want to mention this. This is important. Currently, just get stock 1. I'm seeing a lot of retreating, right? I'm seeing a lot of trying to avoid grenades. And the problem with that is that grenades cover far more space than they actually, like, grenades, like, when they're moving, cover far more space than it may seem. They cover far less space than it seems. So if you're trying to avoid a grenade toss, and you avoid all the space that it covers as it's being thrown, instead of just the blast itself, then instead of trying to avoid this, right, this projectile that covers this circle, and as it goes, it covers this circle. You see what I'm talking about? Like, what you're playing around currently is all this space. All of it. And that's just not possible. It's not feasible to be able to play around the entire stage length and avoid, you know, not just the grenade, but the trajectory of the throw. So what you want to be doing is avoiding the projectile itself, and not just the entirety of the space. Like, it's almost like you're playing so safe that you're giving up any chance of winning the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's impossible to do. So what you eventually have to do here is you can roll through them, maybe you can jump over them, you can maybe what's the word, honestly, in some situations, and this is the beauty of burst range. If you're in burst range, hold on, let me get to it. If you're in burst range, and let's say instead of Nikita here, Snake does a grenade, and he holds grenade. I want to have this situation happen. Right? Let's say you're on the ground here and he's holding grenade. If he throws it at you, that hitbox doesn't actually halt your momentum. You can run at him, tank the what's the word for it? It's like the grenade hitbox before it explodes, right? You can tank that, get a grab, and down throw, and he'll either get hit by the explosion or you'll be invincible. So, like, when you're in that range, you can just charge. You can just charge at Snake, and like, that's something that he will have to respect if you're mixing up between that and dashing back to bait an aggressive option. Right? So that sort of thing is very powerful. When in burst range, you can dash / jump away to punish unsafe, aggressive options, or charge Snake if he tries to play coverage based / long range. And I'm going to put in parentheses, you can run through grenade toss, and if you mix between charging and dashing out, Snake will have to respect it. Which is really, like, basically forcing a zoner to respect you is how you win the game. And, like, forcing them to guess between your aggressive options and your kind of like whiff punish sort of patient coverage play options is how you win. Another thing you have to practice, and this just comes with time, is being able to avoid projectiles. And what you want to make sure you're not doing is trying to play neutral or trying to hit your opponent while avoiding them. Because if you're trying to play neutral and like trying to hit Snake while avoiding projectiles, it's a losing battle. Nice. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so here you actually You shielded it, which is fine. Not necessarily a bad option, but you actually jumped back into the blast. So just kind of as a quick sort of thing, you don't want to be jumping after it hits your shield. You probably wanted to jump to avoid the dash attack, but like, yeah, you just kind of jumped into the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna put that on the dock. Grenades bounce off of shield. Be sure not to jump into an explosion after blocking grenade toss. That's just a quick thing. But it's important because if your habit is to jump, and not even habit, but if it's like your comfort option to jump out of shield, you want to make sure you're not doing that after blocking a grenade toss. Or at least not as often. Okay. Good stuff. This was very nice. See, I don't think you actually intended to do it, but you put him in a very awkward spot here because you entered his burst range.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like when you're here, this is very awkward for him. Obviously being in shield kind of limits you. I would say in this situation you don't want to be in shield. Because if he, let's say he Nikitas, right? If he Nikitas, you can see where it's gonna go. If he points it up, you can just get under it and dash attack, and if he points it straight, you can just jump over it. So you don't really have to be in shield for this. It just limits you and prevents you from running.
Okay, so I can react that from there. Okay.
Which, yeah, it's not even that it's reactable, but if you see it and you know what you're looking for, then you'll have a much easier time being able to react.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think in this situation, you just kind of got into a range where you were worried and you wanted to avoid getting hit. There we go. But yeah, being in shield and burst range is weak. So I'm going to put this here too. Being in shield... Am I spelling shield wrong? I probably am. Being in shield while in burst range is weak because it locks you out of dashing, walking, instant dash attacking, which in that situation, if he had done a Rising Nikita, might have been good. Dash attacking. And then in Diddy's particular case, side B, but I'm going to put burst options that aren't possible out of shield, right? Because if to drop shield side B is so much slower than a regular side B. So you just want to be careful that you have what's the word? You have access to those options. Okay. Okay. Nice. Good punish. So here you get into the range. You get into the range again. It takes you a long time, but you are actually avoiding the projectiles quite nicely. What's funny is that here, you actually took the hit of the grenade, and I think it's what scared you into blocking. So, like, you'll see here, the grenade hits you and you block. So, like, I get that instinct. Okay. Good. You used the banana very well there. Okay. Unfortunate. This is actually a good time to jump. This is very difficult for him. He can't really anti-air you at that range. So here, if you see like a grenade go straight across the ground, you can actually just jump over that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, he just pulls grenade to avoid that situation. And this is what I mean, right? Like, you got an opening, and you could have done so much with it, but because he has such good trading options here, because he could just pull grenade, it's over, right?
Yeah,
it's back to this thing. But what's nice about this is that now that you know that this is the mid-range, right? That's the place I would call it. It's more so burst range. But this sort of mid-range spot is where you get sent when he does a grenade, so he's still technically not in a good spot here. Because you dashed out and pulled banana, it's more so neutral, even though he's he's over here, so it's a little bit your favor. It could have been even worse for him if you had stayed in that burst range.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but it was a good idea there. It was a good opening. Okay, that one poked. Good. And you get a punish here. That's nice. That's twice unfortunate. Okay.
I'm not even sure what happened here.
I don't know.
Oh, I think I probably lost my jump there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think if you did go for a drop ledge aerial, that's pretty risky. But it could also be that you didn't lose anything and just thought that you didn't need it, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's just an unfortunate SD. Yeah, because you
I
nared.
think you're right.
Yeah, I think you had it, but I could be wrong. Nice. So I haven't actually seen this stock. I'd like to see what happens. Nice. Nice. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what you want to do, because pretty much every character in the game has at least one throw that gives them invincibility or something. So like this throw was perfectly timed. In some situations, you might want to pummel to get a little bit of extra time, and in others, you might just want to immediately throw to get the invincibility as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know when the grenade pull, I believe, so grenades explode after about 2.5 seconds, I think. So grenades explode after about 2.5 seconds. Grabbing Snake with a grenade, can't spell, grenade nearby and throwing him as it detonates with an invincible throw animation is a great way to counter the grenade up close, especially because a lot of snakes like to grenade and drop it and then shield, right? So a lot of snakes are very shield heavy because, you know, grenade is a really good way of getting a combo or getting a hit out of somebody hitting your shield. So a great way to counter the grenade up close is to get a grab, because a lot of snakes turtle or hold the shield. And I'm sure you know what turtling is, right? When you just kind of like hold shield and wait to see what happens. Yeah. So nice. Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, that's the same situation as before, only instead of jumping, you just drop shield. So that's the thing. This is why blocking is so weak versus grenades, because when they hit, right, they have this hitbox that you block, right? It's that little one that does like a ping of damage and doesn't actually stop you from moving. So if you block that, it bounces off your shield and stays in the area, right? So you'd have to block for that much longer. If you just let it hit you and jump away, or let it hit you and do something else, or even try and avoid that initial hit by like dropping through the platform or something like that. Essentially, you don't want to be blocking for this long, but if you have to, you want to block the whole string, right? So I'm gonna put that in. Essentially, you want to use your movement to avoid the area.
Okay.
Block or shield for long periods of time. So I'm going to put blocking, grenades, especially tosses, is pretty weak because of how long you have to block for to nullify the hitboxes of both the toss and the explosion. Right? Therefore, you should try to use your movement instead of your shield. And one way you can practice this is you can turn off your shield and play against a good Snake player and see what you do and see what works and what doesn't, and just kind of trial and error in friendlies.
Interesting.
So, like, I'll put that in parentheses. Try turning off your shield button in friendlies versus good zoners to see how you can best use movement to avoid projectile zoning. And what I'll find, and I think what you'll find, is that the best thing you can do usually is jump. And what that means is that your opponent is going to be trying to hit you for jumping, right? Snake up tilt, snake rising aerial, things like there, right? So essentially, it's not that jumping is the best option. It's just that if you could get away with something every time, it would probably be jump, which is why so many characters have such good anti-air tools, because they're designed to hit you for doing that, right? So that I'm not saying that you should be mashing jump. I'm saying that, like, it's a good option, which is why it gets punished so hard. So, no, that's ignore. You can say off. Okay. So, from there, what I would recommend you do is, obviously you want to practice jumping, but also dashing, right? Maybe rolling, right? Maybe something's character specific, right? Monkey flip. Basically, you want to experiment and see what you can do in neutral to avoid the projectile hits, maybe even challenge them directly or bait out aggressive options, right? All the things you can do. One thing that I think you might be able to do, I'm going to put this in parentheses. So I'm going to put this over here, right? Potential options to zone break. That's the term. Potential options to zone break. These are some cool ones, right? Roll, jump, obviously. Dashing. Walking, because you always have access to your shield. So shielding is good in some situations. You don't want to be reliant on it, and you don't want to do it too much because it is pretty weak. But if you're walking, you can shield and put yourself in situations, very specific situations, that make it very awkward for Snake. Just inside burst range, just outside burst range, on burst range, right? Those sorts of places, if you're walking, then you can choose when to shield. You can even parry, right? Walking, shielding, parrying, and essentially it makes it very difficult for Snake to both keep you out and be able to defend himself. Shielding, parrying, well, they're basically the same thing. It just makes it difficult for him to defend himself. Shielding and parrying. You also have monkey flip, and this is a cool one. You also have upbeat.
Don't be afraid to borrow.
Yeah. What?
Forward progressions.
Dude, what? Sorry. The music started playing that had lyrics in it after I turned that off. Anyway. Monkey flip, and you also have upbeat, the barrels. So, with barrels, right, if you're in burst range, you can actually up B and land on the stage and hit. I'm sure you know this. But if you're in burst range, that's actually just within unreactability if you do it perfectly. So, like...
I've seen it before.
Yeah, that's unreactable for him. I'm not sure if it happens in this set, but essentially it's extremely powerful to zone break versus characters like Snake and zoners.
Well, I will say, barrels were definitely used in this set, but not the way you described, but they were still useful nonetheless.
Really?
Well, basically, you'll see at some point. I don't think it's this game, but there's a point where if you use your barrels and a projectile hits you, right, and if you didn't go to the free fall but the barrels are still active, you can steer it.
Oh.
If you do that, you can basically rotate it clockwise and still hit the opponent.
Oh, I had no
after you
idea.
die.
So you're steering that? That's actually really cool.
But you can only steer it clockwise.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. So that's interesting, and that definitely can be useful, especially if you happen to lose your barrel. But like, the way that I'm thinking about it is that, hold on, let me get to it. If you're in, I think there's a spot here, right? If you're in this burst range, I can't quite get to it. It's kind of frustrating. Here, right? Slightly back before you monkey flip. If you're in this burst range and you up B into the stage here, and he, let's say, decides to pull grenade, you win.
Because that probably kill him, right? Like it's with the grenade explosion and the one I put on him.
Even if the grenade doesn't go off, right? Even if it doesn't kill, because he decided to go for a coverage option and you went for a zone breaking sort of challenge on that, right? Because you charged him, you win. So like,
yeah.
Monkey flip works in this situation. I don't think he actually pulls grenade here. Yeah, but like even then, because he dashed forward, you actually called him out with monkey flip because he was still in his dash animation. So my point is that like, if you get into this space, right, and you force, you can even do this yourself to punish a retreating option if you know, but like, if you get into this space and you force him to guess, you can up B, you can side B, you can dash attack, you can jump in there, you can banana toss, all these different sort of aggressive options, right? So I'm gonna put that on your dog. Right.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason I never really go for up B as much in neutral is because one, I'm not confident I can land it safely. But obviously, if they shield the whole thing, right, and say Snake doesn't have a grenade in his hand, if you try and barrels on him and he predicts and shields, you probably die for it.
Yeah.
And otherwise, though, no, I think it's. I see what you're saying though, for sure.
Yeah, no. The thing is though, those are aggressive options. You want to go for them once you see how he likes to avoid you. So basically, I'll show you what I mean, but that's a very good point. Right now, I'm talking about when you have a read. Right, so let's talk about this. Roll, jump in. We're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about one, taking risks in the game, and two, when you should go for them. So, dashing in and out. I'm just making these more specific. Walking, shielding, carrying, arrows. Instant dash. Perfect. Okay. So you mentioned before that he can shield and punish you. He can basically, when you do that sort of aggressive option, he can punish you for it, and that's true, right? Snake can hit you for going for something like that happens to be aggressive. The problem is that if you never take a risk, you won't ever be able to like close out the game. It's impossible to play 100% safely and be able to win at the same time. You eventually have to do something that your opponent can punish.
That makes sense.
But like, I agree with you. Like here, or like if you were to go for something risky and he punishes it, he punishes it. The thing is, like, you want to be doing two things. One, you have to have the confidence to go for it, right? You have to have the the self-belief, basically, that it will work out, which is much easier said than done. But two, you also have to have, I guess the word is evidence, but like you have to have a reason for going for your particular risk, right? And what I would say is this. Let's say you get into burst range, right? It actually happens here, right? Where you get this side B on his dash in. I think it's right here. Yeah. This is a punishable option, right? Because if he up tilts you, you get hit. Or if you get hit out of it, basically, you get hit. If he dash attacks or F tilts or something like that, right? But because you didn't expect him to go for something aggressive, because he's been playing very defensive this whole game, you made an inference on what he would do. You anticipated that he would do something that you could side, right? And because of that, you won neutral. So essentially, whenever your opponent is doing anything, they are giving you information. And that means that when you're being hit and you're in advantage state, when they're hitting you, they're showing you how they like to keep you there, right? Just like when you try and escape, you're showing them how you like to escape. So this game is basically the entire time you're transferring information back and forth. And I would argue how good you are is how well you can read, process, and apply the information you've learned.
That makes sense.
Right? So in Smash, information is constantly being sent back and forth. Being able to parse / use / apply it as quickly as possible is very important, right? Essentially, you want to be able to see the information, understand what it means, and be able to make decisions that are educated with it, right? Making educated decisions is the most important thing, I would say, right? So from there, right, what does that mean? When you are in advantage state, keep in mind not only how your opponent escapes, but how you are keeping them in disadvantage. So this is an interesting idea, right? Because your opponent is observing how you play advantage state, you can use that against them and condition them to expect certain things. So check this out. To condition out defensive options. So, for example, right? Let's say in this situation, every single time you've been monkey flipping a shield, right? And now this time, you get over him and you're in burst range. Hold on, I don't know if it happens here. But you get over him, you get somehow into burst range, and you condition him, right? You've conditioned him this up to this point that when you're in that situation, you side B and you monkey flip, right? If you now, right, because now he expects that, and that's how you've been keeping him in advantage. If you've been keeping him in disadvantage, if you monkey flip and kick, and you beat his attempt to beat your monkey flip, you're now at that next level. You get what I'm saying?
I feel that.
Right? So like, now apply that to like true advantage state, right? He's above you, you just landed an up air, right? And last time, you waited for an air dodge, right? And you went for an up air, right? On his air dodge. You tried to punish an air dodge, and he jumped away, right? Now what you can do is punish the jump, or you can punish something that would beat the up air that you went for before. You could do either one. You could, if you think that he's a weaker player and you just want to punish bad habits, you punish the double jump. But if you think he's a more solid player and will mix up and try and outplay you instead of just going for a comfort option, then you can punish an option that will beat the up air, right? It may still be the jump. In this case, it may still be the jump. It may be something else because he wants to mix and doesn't want to stay predictable while still beating what he thinks you're going to go for. But essentially my point is that whenever you're in advantage state, you're conditioning your opponent.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? And the reason that I even bring this up is because against characters like Snake, advantage state is more important than usual. Because if you can keep a Snake in advantage state for longer, not only are you getting more grenade trades out, not only are you getting more stuff like that out, the thing with Snake is that even if you're at a marginally lower percent, right? When Snake is grenading, right, and going for these sorts of options, he's trading, and it's either slightly your favor or it's true neutral, but the point is that you can turn a grenade trade into more advantage state, right? So not only against zoners, but Snake in particular you want to be capitalizing off grenade trades, right? Turning those grenade trades into more advantage state that he has to then trade again, right? And hopefully you continue the cycle and you rack up damage and eventually you get a kill, right? And if you have a stock lead versus Snake, especially for Diddy, it is very difficult for him to do anything about that, right? He has to fish for a stray hit, which you can consistently punish him for, right? And eventually what'll happen is you'll get one opening and he'll have to grenade trade and take more damage and the lead will build. So you wanna force that situation, right? You wanna make him lose his first stock. You wanna condition him while he's in advantage state, right? And you wanna keep your lead by forcing him to take trades, right? And staying alive for as long as you possibly can. Because the thing about Snake is that he'll live for a long time and he'll trade for a while, but he gets damaged like he'll go from 0 to 80 very easily, because not only is he grenade trading, he's also combo food. So like really, if you can get an early kill on Snake, that's extremely powerful, right? Down airing Cypher is very powerful, that sort of thing, right? So I'm gonna put this on the document. So killing Snake early can be game winning. Edge guarding with Fair. Does Fair break Cypher?
The only move I have to break Cypher specifically is down air. Like forward air, back air, and down air can take Snake out of it.
Oh,
but down air is the only one that can spike Snake and break Cypher. So yeah.
Okay, so Pharaoh doesn't break Cypher, but it sends him out of Cypher. So edge guarding with Fair to hit him out of Cypher, and with Dare to outright break Cypher, I believe that's how you spell Cypher, is extremely powerful, right? Because that can just win you the game. If you just have a stock lead and you're at 0, it can be very difficult for Snake if you play your hand right. Getting a stock lead is also very important, as Snake, while Snake lives for a long time, he usually racks up percent on himself quickly as he has to trade with grenades often and is combo food / bad disadvantage. Okay. Yeah, punishing his landings is also really important because he struggles to land. Like, being able to punish B-reverse grenade is, like, really powerful. Punishing his landings is a powerful strategy, especially if you can punish B-reverse grenades. Cool. Okay. Yeah, this is tough because Snake will live for a long time.
Like, even there, he called out the dash with the down tills.
Yeah. So hold on, I want to see it. So here, if he calls out your aggressive option with something like a down tilt, that means he knows you're going to run in at him. Which means here you want to be jumping, right? So if you were to jump in here, or if you were to stay at burst range and banana toss, or barrel, you would win the trade, right? That sort of thing. The only thing you lose to there is the dash in, right? Like, for example, if you were to instant dash attack, that would be rough. But, like,
Yeah.
down tilt is a hard call out on your run. It's not actually a powerful option because it only beats that one strategy. If you were to jump in, it would lose. If you were to do something a little bit riskier, like a side B or an up B or something like that, it would lose. And if you were to stay at your range and either pop gun or banana toss, it would also lose. The only real powerful thing is that it might actually go under banana toss because he's crouching, but even then you're not getting punished. So you do want to keep that in mind. And even then, you didn't get anything off of it. Like, you lost the situation, right? It's not a good thing for you, right? He gets stage and all that, but he really didn't win too much. Like, it's like, my point is that it is well worth it to keep that mix-up up and take a couple of down tilts and a couple of grabs and a couple of dash attacks if it means forcing that guess enough. Because those sort of stray hits are good for Snake, right? They win him neutral and they get him more pressure. But at the end of the day, if you open him up, it's way, way more potent for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Punish. Oh, okay. I wanted to talk about this. So, forcing zoners to guess is how you win. Sometimes they will guess right and land a stray hit, but if you force the proper guesses, right, the burst range guesses, enough, you will... Yeah, so you might not get as many openings as they do, but the openings you do get will win you the game. You will get enough openings to win the game. Really, the problem is getting into that range in the first place, right? The true challenge is getting into your optimal range in the first place. And usually, that takes a lot of walking and good movement, which, funnily enough, you're doing by accident because your movement is so solid. So now that you're aware of this, I think immediately you're going to see a difference. Because Jeremiah is a very good Snake player, and he's keeping you out, and he's trying to box with you, and he's trying to prevent you from getting there, and he's doing the down tilts to stuff out your approaches. But, like, he really is playing this game that I'm talking about, and you're doing this burst range stuff without even really meaning to. I think it's also that your intuition about where you should be is really good. But now that you're aware of this, and you're aware that you have to force this guess, I think you'll see a difference immediately, or you'll feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, really, awareness is the first... in some situations, and I think in this one too, awareness is really all you need. If you know what's happening, it's immediately much easier. Right? Some things come with time, some things come with experience. I think this is really just... Now that you know, you'll get much better, and if you practice, especially the no shield stuff, it'll become that much easier. Close. I'm surprised he grabbed this too. It was a great air dodge from him.
You know, he usually doesn't mess those up, which is also a thing. Like, that Z-dot there, like, it's harder to hit on Snake than you think. Even then, like, he air dodged and caught the banana on top of it, so I couldn't do much out of it.
Yeah, it was just really well timed. I can imagine it's tough to hit Snake because he can just drop the Cypher, and that's what
exactly. So if he dropped that air dodges back to stage.
Yeah. Good idea. Perfect. See, immediately he shielded. Right? You got in that burst range and he was immediately uncomfortable. Right? Because when you're in this situation, if you were to go for banana toss, you hit him. So he has to block. What?
I think what happened there, I think I shouldn't have shielded. I think that extra half second.
That's my
He would have been hit by
That's my point. The shield locks you out of your options. So if in that situation, if you had charged him, you would have won, right? So your dash attack would have been able to cross up. Your run-in, let's say, short hop or your jump in nair would have been much safer. That sort of thing, right? You won the pressure game. It's just that you traded with grenade because you tossed it out like that. Okay. Oh, wow. First hit of F tilt. Interesting. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
Was that a kill?
I guess not with that much rage, but it would have put him at disadvantage at the very least. I would have come close to killing.
That's it? Wow. Yeah, that's tough.
Kill there.
That was a much better game than it looks like. It's just that you weren't aware of the burst range stuff. That's really the key to this matchup.
I will say, game 2 definitely went a lot better because I think I chose a smaller stage, so I had no choice.
Nice, yeah. Smaller stages are really solid. Like, because it literally by default it's easier to get in that range. So that's
Smash
smart.
Game 2. Then
So I would say against zoners, banning large stages is usually your best bet. And you know this. I'm just putting it on the dock. Nice.
Ooh. He goes for that a lot actually. That forward.
Yeah. I mean,
it was because he probably hits it a lot more than usual. But
yeah, high risk, high reward, I guess.
Yeah.
Good, very good. Yeah, using his grenades against him, like if you expect him to pull a grenade and you can hit him out of it, that's probably your best bet. For characters like, so this is a more Snake specific thing, not a zoner specific thing. But characters like Diddy have a harder time doing this. But for Ike in particular, if you aim for places where he's not holding the grenade, for example, if you aim for his legs or you aim for his head, you actually won't trade with the grenade, but it'll blow up while he's in the hit stun. And I think this is what happened here. I have to see it for myself. I think you actually meated him. I think you meated his get up. I want to see it. Yeah. He had grenade in hand. And it's weird, but you actually hit him in front or behind while the grenade was in his hand. So he gets hit, and then he explodes. Which is, like, perfect. It's very hard to do, don't get me wrong. It's very difficult to just do it. But, like, for example, with Diddy up air, if you can space it so that when he's above you, you hit his feet, you'll hit him, and he'll pull grenade, and he'll still have grenade to land with. And, like, it's way rougher for him if he's not trading with grenade. So I'm going to put that on this. By aiming for places on Snake where grenade won't be hit, you can actually hit Snake without trading. And Snake will get hit by the explosion. If possible, this is the optimal way to keep advantage. Right? It's very precise, but if you can do it, that's perfect. So, right down there. Nice. Nice. Perfect. Damn, you're playing... I can see exactly what you mean. This is really solid.
Yeah, I guess I should probably commit to memory. I can't really punish that F to a back here because this thing's not tall enough.
Yeah. I'll put it on the dock if you want.
Yeah.
Punishing F tilt, Snake F tilt. With bear is extremely difficult. I actually have to go in 5 minutes, I just realized.
No worries.
Cool. Visually impossible. What I'll do is I'll watch the games at some other point, and if I have any more notes, I'll send them to you. But in 5 minutes, I'll just copy and send you the doc.
Sounds good. No, for sure. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. This is your time. This is your session.
Now, I want to say that thing with the barrels, I think it came out with what this game.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Did you
where,
win game
though.
2? Did you win game 2?
Yeah, then I won game 2 and then I think I lost game 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we should watch this some other time. So actually, this is actually a good time to mention this. If you want, you can leave a testimonial or a session review on Metafy, and if you do that, I'll give you a code for a free session.
That works. Nice.
Yeah. So that's actually perfect. Like, if you don't mind, I actually would like to go now, just have time to get to class. But just leave the video testimonial and DM me and tell me you did it, and I'll be more than happy to just give you another free hour, and we'll watch the rest of this with like.
Yeah, of course.
More
focus. I mean, I was going to anyway.
Yeah, cool.
But now I got you. No, for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much, man. So I'm actually gonna just call the stream here. I'm gonna download your VOD now, and if I don't download it now, I'll download it later. But I'll post it soon.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll definitely get this up soon. I have a couple of VODs that I still have to post. But I'm gonna end stream. Thank you all for watching.